Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, across the moat from Oakland, in the great state of California, where we're celebrating these days. And I have just the person to celebrate the new Vice President-elect. Let me bring back Matthew DiBiase. How are you, Matthew?
A lot happier than I was a couple weeks ago, my friend. Well, a lot in certain ways, man. You know, a lot happier. An early Christmas gift, as you would put it, Ralph.
Right. I might put it as a Hanukkah gift, but that's all right.
That too. Yep.
It was great. I remember you were here about 2 weeks ago, and we had a come to Jesus moment where it was really looking bad, and neither of us could come up with anything positive that would come out of Trump's winning this election. And thank God, or whoever you believe in, I think it's terrific. And let's get to, a moment of ecstasy, reality sets in. What can he do? This is being recorded Friday night. What is it, the 12th? Or,
the 13th. Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Okay. 60 some odd days until he's dethroned, as it were. And there's no question about that. He will leave. But are you worried there's anything he can do in the meantime to really screw things up?
Oh, he's already screwing things up. He's doing absolutely nothing with the pandemic. I mean, well, you could call it this, Ralph. I mean, it's a pouting session. He's sulking in his tent like Achilles in the ancient Greek thing, and he's decided to punish the country by allowing the pandemic to wreak absolute havoc, much worse than it was, in March and April during those horrible early weeks of COVID. He's punishing, and it's not just his enemies that he's punishing. Even the people who voted for him are being destroyed too. So in a sense, it reminds me of, it's like Hitler in the final weeks of the European War. I mean, he wanted all of Germany to fight to the death. He wanted every inch of German ground scorched, basically scorched earth, everything to be destroyed, to be left nothing left to Germany. And basically, he wanted the whole German nation to join him in suicide. And the thing was, they didn't. At the end, his own generals and even some of his own cabinet ministers refused to carry out that order. So in a sense, it's immolation when you think about it. It's deliberate immolation. He's not giving Biden. He's not briefing Biden. I suspect any official that tries to brief him will either be fired or punished. I'm not surprised by the Donald. I'm not surprised at all. He's behaving quite typically. I mean, the withdrawal from 12, today was his first set of remarks, and even then he wasn't answering questions from the media and all that. He's behaving quite normally, quite immaturely, and unfortunately, thousands upon thousands of innocent people are taking sick with COVID, and they are dying, and more will die. Innocent people, will continue to die, and to my mind, it's simply murder, Ralph. It's deliberate, willful negligence, and I consider it tantamount to murder. He and those who enable this bestial, despicable behavior.
Right. I can't agree with you more. It's but nothing has changed. He wasn't handling the COVID problem before the election.
Right. It's total abdication of responsibility. Finally he was faced with something far more powerful than he was, and he just a total total abdication, total shirking of responsibility, total shirking of blame, basically allowed the virus to ravage the entire country and the world. Refused to show any sort of leadership whatsoever, refused to set any type of an example, to inspire the nation, refused even to give comfort to those who have lost horribly, in this crisis here. Our healthcare system, which he tried to deliberately destroy, but fortunately, I don't think he will succeed. I don't think the Supreme Court will overturn ACA.
Oh, no.
He tried to destroy it.
Not a chance in hell. 70% of the people believe that you don't overturn something until you come up with something better. So
he didn't want to have anything better. He didn't want to. He just wanted to destroy it, flat out, period. Just total destruction. Leave a lot of people dead.
How much blame has to go at this point to the senators, all but 4, who have formally come out and said, wait a minute, this is crazy?
They share, and I blame. They share, all of them. They are equally culpable. That refusal to act, that refusal to show any type of moral leadership. And hey, innocent people are dying. The fact that they were quite willing to enable that, and if horror of horrors, if he had won on election day, that they would continue to enable, and it would be even worse. It would be even worse. Even greater outrages and more violations of the Constitution and more destruction of innocent people. In my mind, it's just
some of those innocent people, Matthew. Some of those people, and a growing number of them, work in or around the White House. Secret Service is being destroyed by this disease, and he goes riding around for joy rides. We've been talking about the Hitler analogy with this guy for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's renewed in my mind every day that this shouldn't be getting done. Wes Pence for Amendment 25, he wants to resign. I understand. He's thinking about it. Trump is resigning and having Pence pardon him. Pardons that wouldn't be good in New York courts, incidentally. They're federal. It would be federally done. But that may be a way to get him out of the White House.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many theories. One theory, I know his niece, Mary Trump, who wrote that psychoanalysis book on him, speculates that he probably won't run again in 2024 because the fear of losing and all of that. That's one theory. Another theory is, he will definitely run again in 2024. You've got the people thinking, he'll resign early so Pence can whitewash him, and whitewash him and all that. To my mind, I've got one theory. I got one theory that he flees into exile, because he knows he's going to be indicted, and facing a plethora of civil suits and criminal action, and properly so. Properly so. He should be indicted. He and his family and his cabinet officials who were part of his conspiracy and all that he would flee to Russia, because that's the only way he could escape prosecution is, do like Kaiser Wilhelm II did in the waning days of World War I. He fled to neutral Holland, when Imperial Germany was collapsing and the Allies were approaching the German border. He lived the rest of his life and the rest of the German royal family in exile in Holland, and he died in 1940. And I could see Trump, the fact that, Deutsche Bank won't prop him up economically, where's he going to get his money? I could see him fleeing to Russia because then Putin would prop him up financially. And you know what Trump would do? Like Ayatollah Khomeini did with Iran. Remember, Khomeini orchestrated the Iranian Revolution against the Shah in '79 from the comfort of a Parisian apartment building. I could just see Trump supervising the undermining of the Biden administration from the comfort of a Russian Dasha,
Oh, God.
Think about it, though. How better? I could just see Trump whining on from Russian TV saying, oh, I had to flee the country. They were gonna persecute me. They were gonna frame me and my entire family. They were gonna kill my family. I had to flee to Russia. You know, he gave me asylum for the safety of my wife and children, yada yada yada, and all that self-pitying stuff like that. And you know, I could see a scenario like that, but who knows? I mean, who knows, man? It's just all I want is for Biden to indict him. I mean, I hope when Biden takes over, one thing he should do is increase the budgeting for the Justice Department. One, to combat the domestic terrorism that's coming from Trump's vigilantes. Two, create a special office in the Justice Department to investigate Trump's crimes, crimes he committed as president, also the whole Trump family's crimes, too. Find anything indictable, indict him, and throw the book at him. Even if you have to try him in absentia, do so. I mean, if they could try Martin Bormann in absentia at Nuremberg, you can try the Donald and his family in absentia, too. So if he ever came back to America, he'd be locked up and thrown into jail.
Now, would he be taking his family with him? All of them.
Well, you know, if you hear a thing in the weeks to come, oh, I'm taking a final trip to Russia, and the entire family joins him, I mean, all the kids, the grandkids, the spouses, that's the tip-off, Ralph. That's going to be the tip-off. Seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look for that.
Yeah.
He wants to make peace. He'll go and make peace with Putin.
Hey, well, where else is he going to run? Because he can't go to Europe, man, because they got extradition treaties. And I know the Europeans, they'd gladly offer him up back to the States for prosecution. But Russia, hey, that's where he's got his money. He was spying for him. If he was, you know, if you believe that, and I believe it anyway, that he was a Russian agent, he would do like Kim Philby did in '63. I mean, he just slipped away when British intelligence was out to get him. He slipped away from Beirut and ended up in Russia and was decorated by the Soviet Union. He was died and buried there, Kim Philby, the infamous British spy.
He could be a martyr in Russia.
Yeah, they'll probably give him a state funeral, bury him in the Kremlin and all that. You know, if he was a Russian agent, and I bet you he was too. I bet you he was, and all that. Yeah.
Not soon enough. I want to quote Mark Twain on my feelings about Trump. He said something to the effect of, he's never hoped a man would die. But there were times, he admits, to taking a great deal of pleasure in the death. He didn't hope for it.
Mark Twain was an American original, you know.
Right, absolutely.
Beautiful. Yeah. But I would give anything for a Nuremberg type trial. Put, you know, just like they did with Goering and all them. Put him, you know, all the family, all of them, Barr and all of them in Prison Orange, and you know, a mass indictment and just on a variety of charges. I would love that, but it probably wouldn't happen. But I think they got to try. I mean, just, you know, you just got to wait and then convene those grand juries and just whatever it is, you know, nail them. And not just Trump, but also Barr. You know, if you find something that's prosecutable and indictable, do it. You know, go for it, because you got to reestablish the rule of law here. You know, the feather bedding, the corruptions there, you know, the deliberate miscarriage of justice. You know, the deliberate misuse of federal, you know, power, you know, to stop prosecutions. It'd be interesting what else they were covering up. And here's another thing, Ralph, the Epstein tapes. You know, for over a year, the feds have had the Epstein tapes, and they haven't prosecuted one person who starred in his little dirty movies. It kind of makes you wonder who did star in those little dirty movies, you know?
Right. And not only that, who took the plane rides? Clinton was involved in that. He was on some of the manifests.
Yeah. But you wonder who else starred in those little, in his, you know, you've got to figure Epstein had files, man. You know, he had a little black book. I mean, you kind of wonder who starred in those little, you know, and who indulged in Epstein's underage harem. I mean, all we know right now is
who recruited those girls too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive. I mean, does Trump really want a Biden administration to look at the Epstein materials? Do they really want a Biden administration to be questioning Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, and trying to get her to tell what she knew, you know, Because I bet you she knew a lot. I'm amazed she's still alive. I mean, you figure someone who's going to get the chop like Epstein did. I'm amazed that she's still breathing. Because I thought she'd be dead by now, because, do you really want her, deciding if she wanted to cooperate with the Biden administration? I think that would make a lot of people nervous, man.
They are probably writing her suicide note as we speak.
Either it's poison in the soup, or she'll be hung with a little help from her friends, or it'll be a nice little rendezvous in the prison shower with a bull dyke concealing a shiv. One of the three.
Right. Hey, let me run down my brain training to you, okay?
Yeah.
How you going to mandate people wearing masks? Make it a DUI offense, where if you're wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, a cop can come up and give you a test for COVID. They have these tests, 15 minutes, right? You're guilty of that. That's like being guilty of a DUI. Heavy duty fine for that, and people will start wearing masks. Think about that.
I know. I mean, I'll be honest, Rob, just a little confession. Technically I live in a city, but more in a suburban area. So when I take a walk, I don't really mask up. I mean, unless someone comes with me, I got the mask in my pocket and I can quickly put it on because it's pretty spacious. I mean, if it was a crowded city street,
right.
I'd be masked up.
You're not expected to wear it when it isn't necessary, but if you're around people, you wear it.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm in a supermarket, you better believe I got the mask and the gloves. I got the gloves too, Yeah.
Then
any type of enclosed space, I got the mask on. When I enter the restaurant, I got the mask on until I'm seated at table and I'm taking in the food and all of that. But like when I run at night, I'm alone on the street anyway, so I'm not wearing a mask. But when I'm at my church, I'm masked up and all of that. So yeah, I do my thing and all of that.
All right. Well, then why shouldn't it be penalized like DUI, drunk driving? Because you're putting other people's lives at risk. If you have COVID and you're not wearing a mask, you can be tested right away. They test you for sobriety. They could test you for COVID. You're not wearing a mask. Big fine, $500, $1,000. Get an attorney. Lose your right to breathe.
I don't know. I mean, don't laugh. I think tomorrow there's supposed to be this mask.
50% of the people are not wearing masks. 50% of the people don't believe in the vaccine enough to get the vaccine. So it's either do it through masking and social distancing, or we're going to face herd immunity. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think the key is just setting the example. I mean, President-elect Biden is doing everything to set that example. I think in the long term, just it's up to those individuals. I mean, you can do what you can. The key now is getting that vaccine out. I mean, hopefully the news is that hopefully by April, May, or June, we should be getting our shots or whatever and all of that. It'd be interesting to see which one is going to get it, the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine and all of that. That's going to be interesting. I mean, whether there's side effects.
Will it be 2 times, and how long does it last?
Yeah.
And I mean, these are still treacherous times ahead of us.
Yeah.
Even though the worst seems to be over. I don't wake up every morning in dire fear of that election being lost. I mean, we're going to be playing that podcast for the rest of our lives, just how concerned we were before election time. I mean, it was no joke, and we're laughing a little bit on this show. We didn't laugh last couple of weeks.
I'll tell you, Tuesday night when I went to bed, I thought we were losing in Florida, Virginia, right? And you saw the margins, as it were. You don't know how desolate I was feeling, Ralph. I mean, I went to bed and I thought, I don't laugh. I thought if Trump wins, I was going to have a will prepared. I was going to contact the lawyer because I don't have a will right now, though I probably should, but I don't, you know. But I thought, well, you know, if the COVID don't get me, any of my vigilantes work.
Do you need any of my personal information for that so they can get in contact with me?
That I don't know, but you know, I was going to have a will prepared, but now I'm going to.
Well, that's what I mean for the will. For the will they be able to get in contact with me?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but just yeah. But I was going to have a will prepared because I figured either the COVID.
A little humor, Matthew. I knew you wouldn't be. I wouldn't be in the will. That was a little humor.
Oh, I know. You know, hey, you know, but seriously, I figured if the COVID wasn't going to kill me, I figured his vigilantes would. You know,
Oh, that's another thing. We have belief system, and we're right out there with our beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they're going to have a mass rally in D.C., you know, these idiots wearing their MAGA hats, you know, a mass rally. They call it a million MAGA rally or something like that. Talk about a super spreader event and all that, you know. Yeah, they're going to have a rally. I'm kind of wondering what the heck's going to happen. I mean, is it going to be like a Mussolini's March on Rome or something like that? I mean, are they going to rampage in the streets or whatever, you know? The thing is, they're spreading COVID anyway, the fact that they are massing together, you know. I mean, yeah. I mean, but this
who's organizing the rally? Is it coming from the White House?
People. I think it's the QAnon people or whatever, or his Proud Boys or whatever. Or one of his hate groups, I think, is doing it. It'll be in the news tomorrow because I think it's this weekend. That tomorrow or Sunday they're going to do it. You know, who knows what's going to happen? You know, he claims he might even speak to the fools and all that, but it's just I worry about his vigilantes because I tell you this. Even if Trump does walk away from it, right, you know, and surrenders it, you're going to see it's axiomatic. Starting with Clinton and again with Obama, every time when a Democrat takes a president, there's a massive uptick in domestic terrorism. It happened with Clinton. It happened with President Obama, and you're really going to see this with Biden because now with the guns and all that, I think especially with these QAnon people and these militias and these Nazis, I think you're going to really see, you know, overt attacks against federal buildings, you know, seizing of federal buildings, hostages or massacres. I think that's why the Justice Department really has to be augmented because they got to combat this. They really got to get to the nub of this. And if we can take the Senate, if we win those two Georgia runoff races and we can get a 50-50 split and Kamala Harris breaks the tie, what they should do is they should pass an act. Remember they did the RICO Act to break the back of the Italian mafia? They need to pass a specific legislation to combat the KKK and the neo-Nazis, something that hits them right in the nads like they did the RICO Act hit the mafia in the nads, you know, cut their cojones off and all that. They got to do the same thing. I mean, really, you know, specialized legislation that just like the RICO Act that really goes after these hate groups, you know, it takes away their assets, takes away their guns, you know, hits them right between the, you know, right in the cojones, man, like that. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you're going to see this anti-Semitism. You're going to see them attacking synagogues or African-American churches or Latino churches or, you know, the LGBT, you know, the gay community, you know, gay bars or whatever, or any type of advocacy groups, you know, that, you know, helped out Biden and all that, Planned Parenthoods or, you know, gay rights things. You know, you're going to see a concerted attack and all that, and you're going to see a massive resistance from the pro-Trump states, you know, especially if they're able to pass, you know, civil rights legislation, voting rights legislation, revamping education, so on and so forth, expanding women's rights. You're going to see a massive resistance.
Well,
it's going to be tough, but we have to fight that fight. We got to do it. There's been so much damage. I mean, Ralph, they had their turn. Now it's our turn. We've got to do something. I mean, if we can get a 50-50, then we can, you know, start, you know, making America again, because that's the key, getting it all back again.
And we got to even out the Supreme Court.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, Ralph, I saw that thing where three conservatives, Kavanaugh, which surprised me, Barrett and Roberts, indicated in those oral arguments, was it last Tuesday, that they were not thinking of overturning ACA. In other words, they were thinking of preserving it, maybe fine-tuning a couple things here and there, but not destroying it outright. I'm wondering if that might be a subtle signal to Biden, because I know Biden himself, when asked about it, talked about creating a commission to study judicial reform, and I think that's just a quest for time, because remember, Supreme Court terms end like end of June, like early July. If I were Biden, and also it depends on whether we can get control of the Senate, because if the Republicans maintain control of the Senate, then it's a moot point. You can't pack the court. It ain't going to happen. But let's say we get that 50-50 split. I would not be in a rush to pack. I mean, if Roberts can at least get the court to act in a centrist manner, in other words, they're not going to overturn ACA. They will not overturn Roe v. Wade or the gay marriage thing.
Those are the two things that are most important.
Right. In other words, right. If they maintain the key things that Biden holds important, maybe it won't be necessary to pack the court. Maybe we can avoid that, because remember, Ralph, FDR, the last person who tried to pack the court, in other words, expand the size of the Supreme Court, was FDR in his second term. And when he did that, that was the greatest mistake he ever made in his entire presidency, because when he lost that battle to pack the court, for his entire second term, he could not get any significant legislation passed, because what happened is that you had a coalition of Southern Democrats uniting with the Republicans to stymie FDR's programs. I mean, because there was like an economic downturn like in 38, and FDR wanted to prime the pump, help people out, and he couldn't get anything done. It wasn't until World War II started in 39, and we got more involved in it. That's when FDR was finally regained some power and control. But so, you see, there's a risk factor in packing the court. You got to be very, very careful about this. And if I were Biden, I would wait at first. Just let's wait and see. I mean, if what happened on Tuesday was a sign from the court notes, we can be reasonable about this. Please, don't be, packing the court right away. Let's be reasonable about this. I would give him time and a chance to be reasonable. And if Robert shows he can be reasonable and the court is reasonable, maybe we can hold off on this, and maybe we don't have to maybe fight a potentially losing battle and all of that. I would counsel waiting on that, Ralph. Personally, if I were advising Biden, I would say yes. Let's be cautious. Don't tip your mitt. Be cagey, and let time tell us which way to go on this issue. That's my feeling on it.
Beautiful. Hey, yeah. Matthew, another great podcast. And
Thank
this
you,
one
Ralph.
was,
I love you, Ralph.
One was celebratory and celebrating with you, who has really enlightened me on a lot of things.
Yeah. We got to do this
again, man. I really appreciate your company.
Yeah, I love you, Ralph. And hey, Ralph, stay safe, and I want to read your memoirs, man. Hey, when your memoirs come out, I want you on my show. I want to interview you about your life in that book, okay, in the summertime, okay? Is that a date?
That's a date, man. I can't wait.
Love you, Ralph. You be safe, man. Love to the family,
Matthew.
okay?
I'm Matthew DiBiase, Comfortably Zoned. I'm Ralph Tycho, the weak link of it all. Adios, everybody. We'll see you when we do. Happy trail.
Bye. Yep.
Bye, Matthew.
Bye-bye.